Hello, my friends. This is Payman. Today, I have another wonderful guest for you guys on the podcast. My new dear friend, Peart, from the beautiful New Zealand. And the background you see is not a screensaver, it's a real background. She's actually in a yard with her horses. She has four of them. We connected to a serving circle a couple of weeks ago. We had a beautiful chat a few days ago. And then, as soon as she told me about horses, 'cause I've been in love with horses ever since I was a kid. I said, you know what? Say no more. I want you to bring you in on the show. And on top of that, while talking to her, I found out a lot of amazing stuff about her. Again, about horses, she's had quite a few horses in her life. The first one when she was 15, one was a racing horse, which won a few races as well. And she used to also rescue children, then horses. Her daughter had also a pony, so she was four, and she competed in the pony club equestrian competitions. She's also a therapist, natural health, and helping horses as well. But one thing that really stood out is that she's a cancer survivor. And 2024, December 2024, she was diagnosed with stage 2 bladder cancer. And by the grace of the Lord, now, 2 years later, cancer is no more there. And she has a gift of helping people. She was able to help a man with brain tumor go from not being able to talk to be able to actually talk and being discharged all in as little as just 1 and 2 sessions. And yeah, so that's quite a lot that we can unpack. So, Helene, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Wow. First of all, tell us, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling fantastic. It's a beautiful sunny day here. Well, the sun has been out this afternoon. It is afternoon, but it is autumn and it's lovely and blue skies.
Yeah.
That's why we're able to do this outside.
The joys of technology. I'm here in Vietnam is 9:19 a.m. She's in New Zealand is 3:19 p.m. Look at that. And you guys, some of you that's going to see that in the US right now is 10 p.m. in the East Coast and 7 p.m. on the West Coast. Wow, amazing. And the folks in Europe and the US are still, sorry, UK and Europe is still in La La Land. So, anyways, let's get going. So, first of all, tell us, for people that do not know you, over and beyond the little description I gave about you, tell us. We're going to talk about your business and all that later on, but tell us, who is Elaine, first and foremost, as a person, as a human being, and as a woman?
I'm a mother. I have one daughter. Um, I love my lifestyle. I was brought up on a dairy farm as a child, so I love the country life. Always have. And I've always not planned, but I've always seemed to be helping. As a child, any sick animals, any abandoned animals, Dad would bring it home and say, Helen, you look after it. But my sisters were not interested in doing that. As time went on, when my daughter was riding, next minute her friends all turned up and wanted a pony. So they started on her riding her ponies. And next minute, I helped her parents buy their ponies. I then had a horse float. I sold that and buy a truck so I could take these kids out to Pony Club with my daughter.
Mm.
So I've always been there helping. And then from then on, she went off to uni. And I moved and I was breeding ponies. The idea was to breed them to make myself some money. But where I was living was an area where it was known as the New Zealand's poorest, lowest for family abuse. So these kids that turned up all came from that environment. And somehow I attracted children that were in trouble. And the kids, my ponies, I ended up using them for the kids to help them through and give them a positive life, show them something else about what life is about.
Wow.
And these girls are now in their late 20s and now will be becoming adults. Well, none of them have ended up in trouble, and none of them, I believe, have followed their parents' footsteps.
Mm.
One of them has still got horses. Yes, and it just seems to be that I seem to have attracted people that need help, whether it's adults, whether it's children, or animals.
Wow. It looks like you have an audience already. The horse to your right is really looking at you, and it is at us at the screen to your right, to your right. Behind you?
To my right, the
Yeah, yeah.
chestnut mare that's over here.
She's looking
This is
like very paying attention to what she's saying. Hello, you. How are you? What's your name?
this is this is Heidi,
Heidi. Hello.
who has raced and won her race, and then was in a situation of a broken marriage
Oh, wow.
and got abandoned.
Mm,
So I eventually ended up with her.
wow. Before I start,
So yeah,
I just want to ask a question about horses. What's the lifespan of a horse?
they are now, if they can live anywhere between their 20s and their 30s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mid-20s very common for a horse now, but there's horses that will live into their late 30s. There is the odd one that's lived into their 40s, and it's a bit like humans. If they're depending on their life, sort of what sort of life they had as youngsters.
Yeah.
Making sure that they've had their teeth done regularly, they get wound regularly, they got food. So yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah. And as you talk, I have an ant. I don't know if you can see it right on the microphone, just chilling around and an animal party, you know? Come on, go away. As long as you don't get into my coffee, you're free to roll, you know? Anyways, let's move on. So, what I usually like to do is to start with a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person. Ready?
Yeah.
So, tell us, Helene, what makes you happy?
Actually, probably been outside with my animals,
Oh, yeah.
spending time with them, the other horses and the dog.
Yes, beautiful. What makes you smile?
Apart from the animals, and having been around positive people to have a laugh.
Mm, love that. Now, let's take the happiness factors a couple of notches higher. What makes you come alive? What sets your soul on fire?
Oh, that's a really good question. What's my thing? I suppose nature, being able to I suppose really I do helping people, I suppose. That would animals, probably more so my animals. When I see animals struggling, horses struggling, and being
Yeah,
able to work them through their traumas.
yeah, love
Because there
that.
is one, I don't think it's seen in the background, a black and white horse here. He's been through traumas. He's been through two people with traumas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're coming closer. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, beautiful. Now, on the other side, what makes you sad and angry?
People that I don't like abuse. I don't like hearing
Mm,
people using bad language, abusing animals, abusing people.
yes, I'm
It's
with you.
something I really detest.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What scares you?
Oh, what scares me? Something that did scare me a few years ago as we're getting older, because I'm not, we're all getting older, um,
Wiser.
was when I was looking up, pardon?
We're getting wiser.
Wiser. Yeah, we are. I agree that we're definitely getting wiser. I have to agree with that. But actually, it was being being in a position that I couldn't look after myself, and where would I be? I
Yes.
think that was a big thing, particularly when I was looking after an 80-year-old lady
Mm,
who ended up in a rest home, and the thought that that's something I would not want to be in that position.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what would you say is your personal superpower?
Oh, my superpower. I've never thought of myself as superpower,
Now,
but
what is
I
your
suppose if I
superpower?
really,
What is your personal superpower?
I would say being caring for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And caring for you in your case, also for animals, for horses.
Yeah, that's been my big thing, being as a carer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
without looking for it, animals and people have come to me.
You were And essentially, we're in a way even born in that environment.
Yeah, I was born around animals with me. Yeah,
Mm.
I've got a photo of me as a 2 years old sitting on a cow.
Amazing, amazing. Awesome. Now, what would you say is one thing that you used to value that you don't value anymore?
Well, some of them were friends, actually, that I
Mm,
valued as friends. And I've had to, as we mature, as we get wiser, realize they were actually holding me back.
yes,
Um, I had to sort of disassociate with them.
yes, yes, yes. I agree completely. Now, what is one thing that you did not value before that now you're valuing more and more?
Um, Actually, my time,
Yes,
my time. That's something that I probably never looking back, never valued. I just did what people asked me and then get frustrated because I couldn't do what I wanted to or put the same energy in it. But
yes,
now
yes.
it's my time is important for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's move on. You enjoy traveling, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
We can do an entire podcast just on traveling, but we may do that another time. For now, I'd like to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you were growing up as a kid. You know, when we were kids, people around us, family, friends, neighbors, relatives, teachers always ask us, "Hey, Helene, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer to that as a little girl?
A vet, a vet,
Oh,
very
oh yeah.
a vet, and a school teacher were the two things I wanted.
Okay. Was there anyone in particular that inspired you to become that, or you just wanted to be that?
No, because there was not a vet or a school teacher in my family.
Mm, okay.
I don't know where that came from, but it was just something right from little. I was determined I wanted to be a vet.
Mm. So growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or hate it?
In my primary school years, I enjoyed school because I went to it was only a two-room country school, so everybody knew everybody. And then when my parents sold the farm when I was 12, I moved into a big school and I saw my teacher abuse the students. And that was
Mm.
the end of me. I didn't like school. In fact, I didn't want to be a school teacher after that, after I saw what he was doing to my classmates.
Oh, wow. What was your favorite subject and your least favorite subject in school?
I love geography.
Mm.
Geography, and I did do sewing, but I could sew more than what my teacher could, so I had to give that up because it wasn't learning.
Okay. And what kind of student were you back then? Let's say in grade 10, 11, if we were in the same class, were you more like the shy, the quiet, the nerdy, the chatterbox, the superstar, the athlete? What kind of student were you back then?
I was the quiet one that sat in the corner and didn't say anything.
And were you popular with the boys?
No, no, I wasn't. And that's probably because I was shy and just stuck to myself.
Mm, okay.
So yeah.
What was your very first job? And do you remember how much you paid in that first job?
My first job, I earned about, it was, I don't know, between $15 or $20 a week.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what was the job?
First job was a temporary job until I could find something else. It was because my parents moved again after I did my high school years and moved to another small town. There was a family. The wife had left 6 kids, so I was looking after the children after the father went to school, went to work, and then
Mm,
until he came home. I did that for quite a few months until I found an office job.
okay. Do you remember what you did with your first paycheck? with the first $15, $20 that you earned?
Because I mean, it would have been cash in the hand those days.
Yeah.
I could not. It probably went into my horse. It was probably saving up towards gear from my horse.
So how was it like growing up in a farm and growing up with horses?
Growing up on a dairy farm was, I mean, I enjoyed it. People said it must have been a hard life. I mean, in the summertime, my dad was a hay contractor. So he would disappear early morning, and off making hay. So that left my mum and I to milk the cows. So I would get up in the morning, go over and help her milk the cows, come home, get ready to go to school, and make sure my sisters are ready for school. They were left on their own, which they were younger than I am. Not allowed to do that these days. Come home from school, get in their washing off the line that mum had done, make sure there's enough wood for the fire, shoot back to the cow shed, help mum feed in the calving time, feed the calves, and then come home and put the dinner on when mum would be cleaning the cow shed.
So
and as a kid, I didn't think any of it.
Did you have any time for yourself to play, homework, whatever?
We did play in the weekends and that.
Okay.
But looking back now, I probably didn't. But as a kid, I didn't worry about it. I loved it. I was very disappointed when Dad told me he was selling the farm.
Yeah, roaming around freely, playing with animals.
Cows I had back then, no horses.
Oh, cows, okay.
And then we moved from 250 acres to Dad. When he sold, and I said, "You're not selling my cows." I had 6 pet cows. In fact, we had calf club day. So every year you take your calf and have all these competitions. But one year, because I never turned my calves out to be cows, they had to stay pets. So I asked the headmaster, when I'm thinking back now, I asked that headmaster, could I bring my last year calf along? And the headmaster said, well, no, it's too big, you won't handle it. But somehow I persuaded him. So I took my cow, my yearling, I had my calf and my yearling. So the following year, my neighbours, their 2 brothers, they brought their years. So there was 3. So my that year's calf won champion, and that one champion is a yearling.
Wow. Do you have a picture of that?
So they all had to go so Dad bought 55 acres. So the pet cows all went onto that block of land to rear calves.
So do you have a picture of you and your cow in a class?
I have got some photos of me with the calves here. Not many. There's a couple. I do have a couple.
Amazing,
with
amazing.
The cows.
Imagine showing up to school with a calf. That's amazing. You become instantly the superstar of the school.
Yeah, well, see, in the country schools, you had what they call calf club day.
Yeah.
So where I lived, it was such a small farming community, no shops. So most of the kids either brought a calf or there was a few lambs, would bring one of the other animals, and then it was a competition once a year.
Yeah, wow. Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And now they call it agriculture day now, but it's very different these days to what it was back in the days I was growing up.
Wow, they're just majestic. They're coming back behind you. Wow. The horses, 1, 2, 3.
And my dog has been.
How is the dog getting along with the horses?
He's good, except for my coloured horse. I don't know what it is between him, because they're both the same colour. He seems to, I don't know what it is. They've got a strange relationship.
Do the horses...
If it had been any other dog, this
Yeah.
horse would have kicked him. But this, I don't know what it is with him.
Really? Wow.
Being a border collie. So, yeah. But he likes to harass.
Wow.
And part of that is it's been a working dog.
Must be like endless entertainment for you.
It is, yeah.
Wow. And endless love, unconditional love.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. So let's move forward. So how would you describe your path from the moment you left school to now, would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing? Once you get into one lane, you were set for life, or was it more like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
Oh, it was up and down all over the place. Um, I it was sort of okay sort of life, and then I actually did not get on with my mum very well at all,
Mm-hmm.
and a sister, and I just got fed up with the abuse one day. My parents and my mum, not my parents, only my mum and my two sisters, well, one of my sisters more so, could not understand why
Mm-hmm.
am I still involved in horses. You should be married. You should, this particular sister was already married. And she's 3 years younger than I am, but she couldn't understand why I'm mucking around with horses. Your age, you should be married and you should be having children. And
Wow.
at 18, I started a pony club, actually. And so with the verbal abuse and everything that was going on, I'd met someone which I really should not have gone, but I got so frustrated with what happened one day. In fact, my mother attacked me. And I said, that's it. I don't need to be put up with this. I'm 22 years old. I contacted the person that I knew had gone back to England and said, I'm coming over.
Mm.
So I took off to the UK. I spent 5 years over there, had my daughter over there, but that was a very rocky marriage. Then I actually got a phone call from my dad to say my mum had cancer and I need you to come home. So I came home and gave everything up. My daughter and I came back and I spent the next 12 weeks taking my mum from where we were living for chemo. So my 2-year-old daughter spent 12 weeks in that hospital once a week watching people. So many of them didn't each week. Yeah, so my marriage was not good. Wasn't eventually. I stuck it out for 27 years.
Wow.
And it was a very rocky marriage. And one day I just stood on the deck of our property and thought, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And came to the conclusion I've got two choices: stay, continuing the type of life I've got, or get out.
That's it.
And so I decided to call it quits.
Mm-hmm.
But the property that we had at the time was not, we had a lot of issues with it, a lot of council. We had a lot of, actually we got done over in one way. Our lawyer was changed right at the time of changing over between the lawyer and the council. Then they're told that their zoning had been changed. So I bought it as a lifestyle property. It had been changed to development property, which caused major problems when we come to try and sell it. So when I sold it, my ex-husband and I sold it to actually those scammers, really, a couple. We're supposed to be developers.
Wow.
And we're in a 15-year battle, still trying to get our money.
Wow.
So it's been a real, so in between that, the guy that eventually bought it, he threatened me and injured me. I was told I'd never use my wrist again.
Wow.
Through what happened. And, but again, part of that's also in your mind. You've got to, I could have accepted what the surgeon said, that I'd never use my right wrist.
Mm.
And I believe having my horses is what got me through it.
Yes. Wow.
Because through having to mix up horses' feeds and just doing this rotation movement, I just did it bit by bit by bit until I could finally do it. So, yeah. Hello, Mocha.
Wow. Oh, that's so sweet.
So this is a pony I bred.
Okay. Wow. What's the pony's name?
So this is Mocha, Goldley Mocha.
Hey, Marka.
So
Wow.
she is almost purebred Welsh cob.
Wow. Amazing. And so these that you're breeding, are they mostly for racing or just selling them for
No,
profit later on? Or
I rescued had a rescue golden buckskin Welsh cob stallion. And originally was supposed to break him in, sell him, and make myself some money. But we had him at a show. My daughter was riding her horse. I had him in one hand, and my mare in the other hand, and watching my daughter do a round of jumping. And some kid ran into the stallion, and the woman, because back in those days you had to put a red ribbon on a horse's tail, and that's to tell people to stay away. And the lady I was talking to, she said to me, "Why you got a red ribbon in that horse's tail? He didn't even kick it." I said, "Because he's a stallion." She said, "But that's a mare, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." "But you got a mare in one hand and you got a stallion in the other hand." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But he's a riding pony. When he's got a saddle on, he's a riding pony. He knows he's a riding pony. He's not a stallion." And I told her the story behind it. She said, "Well, why are you going to gild her?" She said, "Do you know how many people are looking for horses like him?" I said, "Yeah, I'm doing it all the time for kids." But I didn't own any land at the time when I owned him. Well, when I got him. So I thought about it, and he stayed with me until he was 26. I lost him. He got down. Once he got down, we couldn't get him up, so we had to put him down. So so I bred him, and there's another black horse. She's actually my stallion. He's actually her grandson. Her mother and her father. She wasn't supposed to be bred, actually. It's from my stallion. And my other black horse that was in the background earlier, she's by my stallion, and she's out of a thoroughbred mare.
Wow.
So they're bred for pleasure. But the few that were bred, and there was a few that got down to the New Zealand Horse of the Year and done very successful. They have to actually be qualified to get there. Otherwise, they can't compete at that. And if they're not qualified, they can't compete at that show. And
so when you say qualified,
so
when you say qualified, what does that mean exactly? How do they have to qualify?
Okay, so depending on the discipline,
okay.
There was one horse that I heard he was in show jumping.
Okay.
And I heard the other week he's actually in Australia now, which is it's actually related to that pony. It's actually her mother's, it'd be her uncle actually, if you want to go that way. Yeah, it's related to her. And then there's others that have been doing show hunter, which is another type of jumping. So they have to go to a local other competitions, and they've got to win either a champion or reserve champion before they can get to the main show. And then they have what they call the A&P, the flat classes, doing the walk, trot, and canter type work. So they have to win champions or reserve champions and they've got to win 2 of either of them to be qualified. So, So what it is, it's the best of the best competing against each other.
So the 4 that you have now, are you breeding them for competition? Are you breeding them for eventually selling them? What's the game plan? Or just because you love them?
Because I love them right now.
Yeah.
I'm not breeding any at the moment just because I'm in temporary accommodation here at the moment, so it's not the suitable place to do it. But I will breed my 2 black horses. I'd like to put them back in fold to keep my bloodlines going. So there's 3 of them a mare. The chestnut mare is a mare too. So I've got 3 mares and 1 gelding here. So they're more or less just pleasure. The pony has, in COVID, I did have a couple of children coming here doing pony rides when lockdown was on for these kids, so they can have something to do.
Speaking of that, do you, for example, in your big property, allow people sometimes to come, play with horses, even ride them, and of course they pay for it, or no?
I've had people come here and just brush them and groom them and everything. Apart from the pony, they were having lessons, so they were charged. They did pay me for the lessons.
Okay.
But I don't really have this particular property is not suitable to go riding anywhere at the moment. So yeah. But I do have people come and just groom just because they want to be able to relax, and just a good way of relaxing.
Remind
me. So
my
plan is.
Go ahead.
So my plan is when I do move from here, I am looking for a suitable property at the moment that I will do that and I want to use the horses for more on the healing side of it as well. So people can come out and relax and groom and just don't need
Yeah.
to ride, just being able to touch them, groom them, take them for a walk and spend time with them. And because people don't know, horses are amazing animals for healing.
Yeah. I remember back a couple of years ago, I had a lady from Australia. She also has a property with horses, and she did professional competitive equestrian events. If you want, I can connect you to her.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do that after this call. Yeah, you guys will have some good talks. I know another lady also in Ireland. She has a big property with horses. Actually, what I would love to create like a group between the four of you ladies and one, two, three, sorry, the three of you ladies, and just share your love about horses.
Yeah. Yeah. Stories and different, yeah, because we all got different stories and we all do different things with them.
Yeah, I'll do that after this call. Yeah, wow, awesome. So tell us about your business. What are you, oh, before you talk about your business, you mentioned one thing I want to know also is that you said in December 2024 you were diagnosed with stage 2 bladder cancer. Talk us about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big shock. I was suffering from some pains in my side, and about 2 weeks before Christmas, and I'd gone to town. I actually had to go and help somebody, and I started to drive home, and I had this extreme pain on my side. Well, I thought, I can't drive, I've got to stop. So I went back to where I was and said, look, can I just rest for a half an hour and I should be right? Because it didn't come right. So I phoned up Helpline, the health line, and they said, just take some Panadol and go home, you'll be okay.
Yeah, as usual.
Well, yeah, usual. So because this was a Sunday afternoon, late afternoon when this happened. And Ian, I realised, no, this is not right. So I think I'm going to have to take myself into the hospital. So I asked my friend where I was. I said, look, can you drive? Because I don't think I want to drive. So we drove into the hospital, car park, 12 hours. My dog sat in that car for 12 hours. The time I got out of there. I went in and they do their normal bits and pieces. They then sent me off and they did some blood tests first. That was the first thing. And they came back and they told me my red cells and my red and white blood cells count were low. So my own background with my bone therapy, doing physical anatomy, I knew that wasn't a good sign.
Mm.
And the guy, I remember he was lovely. The doctor said, don't think like that, Helen. It's not necessarily cancer. So then they did a scan. No, MIR did that. And when that came back, they found I had a kidney stone, but they also found a lump in my bladder.
Mm.
So I had to wait to February before I could actually go. They were going to do it in the hospital, but after 12 hours, they decided to send me home because they couldn't, was still waiting for someone else to do another investigation. So in February, I went for another investigation and got treated very cold, actually, the guy was. It was so painful having the investigation. And then I said, what did you find? He wouldn't even let me see this computer screen. He said, you got cancer. Handed me a yellow card. He said, here's the yellow card. Go down there where you got from and go and sign yourself in for surgery.
Wow.
It was just, and because then they had to do my blood pressure, and my blood pressure went sky high just through the stress. And then that was the reception. So I need to get the nurse in now. So she comes in. The first thing she said to me, why didn't you take your blood pressure pills today? I said, I don't take them. Why haven't you taken them? I said, I don't have high blood pressure. Yes, you do. So I said to her, well, what would you do when you've just been told in a very cold manner that you've got cancer? Well, that's no reason to have a high blood pressure, she said.
Would
So I walked out of there feeling very down.
Yeah, sure.
Because I felt like I was nobody. I was just a number. And So I did. I went for about 200, and then I sort of phoned a couple of friends, and they said, "I'm sorry, we don't want to know you." My sister didn't want to. My sister said, "Get rid of your animals. You got to move. Go and live. Go and rent yourself a room." And yeah, that was. If I had 2 weeks, so I went down quite a black hole. I felt really didn't know what to do. I was going through my head. I think I know, how people want to take their lives, and I thought, yeah, I can see it
Mm.
when you don't, when you're feeling down. Not that I wanted to, but it was in my head, like how easy it is for people to go down that track. But I was sitting on the couch feeling sorry for myself one evening, crying, and my dog just came up and he stuck his head under my arm, and
Oh.
just he said the look on his face, and it made me realize, well, if I don't pull myself through, who's going to look after him? He's a rescue dog. I don't want him to go into another rescue situation. And then I went down, I was interested in the horses. In fact, I originally had 5 horses. I've lost my big, beautiful, big thoroughbred rescue mare. And she had no personality. But she knew when I was sick, she just came alive. She became a horse. She became very affectionate, extremely affectionate. She would be with me. She'd have her head over my shoulders. In fact, that was the day I looked at her. She did that. It was like,
They're like
take me
literally
home.
angels. They're literally like angels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she ended up with major feet injury, foot problems. I eventually had to put the hardest thing was putting her down.
Yes.
The day I put her down was really hard because we have problems. Couldn't get a vet. We had to put her down the other way, which is not the way I wanted to do it. And the guy that did it, she put her head. He had his leg amputated 2 days after that. He was waiting. He was there with his crutch with his gun, and she just put her head into his chest before it happened. That was the hardest thing. It was like she knew, but it was, yeah, that was hard. But what was interesting is when I'd feed them, normally I'd feed them and then they'd go wandering off. But when I was really, really sick, they wouldn't leave. I've got a horse float and I was going to sit down outside and I'd just sit there and they'd just all hang around me. But the dog beside me and the horse, and they'd stay there until I walked up to the house.
Mm.
And they did that until I did have one tumor removed. And now I'm supposed to go back and have the bladder removed when they found out how bad it was. And but I knew, with this iTear wand that I have that does terahertz, and I use it on my body twice a day, and I charge my water. And I just knew when I went back, and then the hospital stuffed up because I was supposed to go back within 3 weeks. So this was in February. I had the surgery. But they didn't call me back until May, so that's why the surgeon was adamant that my bladder would be the cancer spread through my whole body and all that. And I thought, no. In my head, I said no, it won't, not going to happen. And so I knew when I went into second surgery, I woke up with no catheter, and the nurse said, "You can go home tonight." And then the surgeon turned up about an hour later, walked in my room and he said to me, "I'm sending you home tonight." I said, "You know, I'm living on my own." He said, "Yeah." And then he goes with his arms like this and "I don't understand." I said, "What do you mean?" "I don't understand. I cannot find any cancer."
Wow.
I felt like saying I knew. I felt like saying I knew, but I didn't. I just kept that in my own head.
Wow.
But they were adamant. He was adamant, my GP was adamant, another specialist adamant, all adamant, I must go and have chemo. And I was thinking, well, why do I need chemo? You didn't find any cancer. So then I had a follow-up 6 weeks treatment, I get follow-up another examination, and they still couldn't believe they couldn't find any.
Wow.
And I do believe part of it's your mind, is that because I never took on board that when I had cancer. When I talked about it, I always said I was diagnosed.
Wow.
It's something I learned, don't take on board, because if we take it on board, then the universe tells us you've got it. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. What a story. What a story. And then you said that you also have the gift of helping other people as well?
Yeah, I was asked for a friend. He's got a friend's father that's had brain tumor cancer, and he asked me, and he said, "Oh, could you cure my friend's father?" I said, "I'm sorry, I can't say I cure. That's something I can never do." I said, "Even doctors can't say that to you." But
Yeah.
I said, "I may be able to help." I'll be honest, my mindset, I've had to do a lot of personal development over the years for myself. And my little thing in my head was saying, you can't help him. It's only 5 weeks. But I had to get rid of that nonsense. And I went and I said to my friend, well, I need to have some, be paid for the petrol because it's a 3-hour drive there each way. So anyway, we went down. I met this guy called Hoki. He's laying in the bed. He's a Maori, and he was very yellow in his skin colouring.
Mhm.
And I was introduced to him. He was able to shake my hand. He could he was still able to recognise, but really wasn't focused about what's going on. So I gave him a treatment. And because of the distance, I already made my mind up. I cannot just do one treatment. He's only been given five weeks to live. I need to do 2 treatments. But this family had already, apart from paying me for going down, but they'd also paid me to get their own wand. So I actually had ordered theirs before I had left. We went and had lunch. And when I came back after 4 hours, I just said to Hoki, I said, how are you feeling, Hoki? Now, when I met him, he had a very faint whisper. And that was all he could. You could hardly hear him. And when I asked him how he was, he said, thank you. I've got clarity. His son Tony and my friend Wilma looked at each other, and Tony said, my dad has not had a voice for many months.
Wow.
He was absolutely gobsmacked that his father had a voice.
Wow.
So I did another half-hour treatment on him. He got quite restless, and I left it after half, and I realised he'd had enough. And I said, are you okay? He said, no, my bum's sore. And very clear in his voice. So I said, would you like to go and get some help? I live
Yeah.
opposite a local airport. That was a helicopter.
Wow.
And so I went and got some help for him so they can move him around. So the other thing, he's also started to have some colour back in his skin. So 10 days later, when their wand turned up, and I went back because I decided I had to leave my wand with them. I could not bring it home. If that was the results in 4 hours, there's no way. This guy's only been given 5 weeks. I cannot take my wand home. So I left it for his son to use on his father. He was doing it twice a day. I said, if you want to do it 3 times a day. So 10 days later, I went back down, and Tony said to me, I don't know what is about that wand. He said, my dad doesn't stop talking. He doesn't stop complaining. And I said, what he said to you, he's got clarity. Now he knows where he is and wants to know what's going on.
Wow.
And then he said to me, he said, he has now got an appetite because he had very little appetite when I first met him. His bowels are now working. Now, 3 weeks after being the time I met him, and 3 weeks later, he's been in this guy's in a hospice. They discharged him from the hospice because their words were, he's not sick enough to stay there.
Wow.
I did make a comment to him. I did say when I leave, I said, I'm going to hear that you're going to walk out of this hospice alive. Okay, he didn't physically walk out, but he did leave the hospice alive. He is in a rest home at the moment. And now 5 weeks later, he has now got feelings that he was completely paralyzed on his left side. He has now got feelings down his left arm, and he can actually move his fingers. Now they're talking about discharging him from the rest home because he's not sick enough again.
Amazing. Wow. So what exactly was that you did to him?
So all I did is I should have it here, is my wand.
Like a magic
Would you like me
wand?
to just go and grab it?
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
I call it the magic wand.
Okay.
It is a red, long cylinder thing. It's a bit like a hairdryer. And if you don't mind, I'll just go and grab it.
Yes,
So it's
please. Yes,
easier
please. Yeah,
to
okay, right.
explain.
Yeah.
So this is what I call my
Wow.
magic wand.
Wow. So
So all
what
I
does
do
that
is,
do?
okay, so what it does, in this side, this part of here, there's a crystal tube in here. It blows out blue heat, and the heat penetrates through the body. And what it does in the body is then just actually destroys the bad stem cells to replace with good stem cells.
Wow.
It helps with circulation. It helps with giving energy. And it was an interesting for myself by not having my wand for 10 days. By the third or fourth day, I started finding my energy level had dropped.
Wow.
And I felt like I'm 70. And I was wanting to having these mini naps, which I never did. And I realized once I got it back, within about 3 days, I was back up being where I was. So it's not just doing the stem cells, but it's also helping to the energy in the body. It helps people with circulation. And obviously, I mean, I can't say we cure it. It's not, I'm not medical in that, but what it's obviously done. And it was interesting when I was working on my client with the brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first day, I didn't know where the brain tumor was. All I knew, he had a brain tumor. That's all I was told. But while I was working on his head, so I just put the wand, I just went over his head, down the body, right down one side, and I just moved right around the body with it, walking around the body with the heat on it. But when I got near the head, on the forehead, you could see it was pulsating. And be honest, I thought I was seeing things to start with.
Wow.
But when I went back 10 days later, when I met the patient's daughter, she told me where the tumors were. He had one in the forehead and 2 in the back.
Wow.
It was funny in the back because I found I had something keep telling me I need to do the back. But I can also do this at distance because I also got a girlfriend's dog who had just lost her husband, and 2 weeks later, she thought she was going to lose her dog. And she phoned me up in a panic. Her little dog was in the vets. She told me about it. As a bone therapist, I have worked on the dog, so I could visualize the dog very easy because I'd physically handled her and worked with her. And I sent some energy down to her. Anyway, that little dog doesn't have a tumor on her her liver anymore.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
It's like energy. It's sending energy through the body to healing the body.
So you mentioned there's a crystal, I'm sure you've heard about the ancient methods, especially in Lemuria and all that. It's all about crystal, healing and all that. Do you think this has anything to do with that, maybe? It's one of the things that is being
Obviously, yeah,
hidden
because
from us. Yeah.
It's got to have something because they have the crystal in, because otherwise you could just use an ordinary hairdryer. If it wasn't. So it has to be the heat going through that crystal is the key to it to make it actually effective. Because it looks like a hairdryer. You can use it. I mean, I do dry my hair with it. Not that I use it for drying my hair as a hairdryer. I know when I'm using it on my head, and in fact, I've heard stories, and I actually looked at my own photos, and I thought, my hair is still blonde. I've been a blonde all my life. most people at my age were now either gone grey or white.
Yeah. Can I use it
And I've
to
still got
dry my hair?
yeah. Well, I have heard of
Mine
people
is
whose hair can come
transparent,
grow again.
transparent, curly, brown hair, but it's transparent.
Transparent. Well, I have heard of people in their hair. I've heard of people their hair's grown back, and it stimulated the stem cells.
Yeah, like this. Yeah. Okay. That could be a business opportunity for you. Jokes aside,
Yeah,
I'll be your first beta tester,
I bet. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing, amazing. Cool. Wow. So tell us, you said that you're a therapist. Now tell us about your business.
Pardon?
Tell us about your business.
Okay, so what my business is actually promoting this,
Okay.
having clients to buy it. But I not only just sell the thing, I sell the product. I do actually do a course. There will be follow up. I don't believe just selling a product to somebody. And what happens to a lot of people do. Some people will use them. Some people put them in a cupboard. Don't even need to do them. Or the novelty wears off. So what I believe is when someone's got it, it's making sure they've got it, making sure they know how to use it, and making sure they're using it regularly, particularly if they've got a particular health issue that they want to work with, because it's very easy. Life happens. We start doing things, something happens, and we forget about it. And then the next day comes, and a week later, you still haven't done it. And so my business is not only providing the wand or people understanding about it, it's also making sure you use it, and then also giving them some more information about it, also doing some bit of coaching about mindset, because I do believe that healing is not only just using a tool, it's also our mind.
Wow.
And I believe our mind is very important, because I do believe that's part of why I healed myself, is not just because of this tool, it's also my attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could have quite easily continued down that black hole that I was and just say, oh God, I looked at all my friends, all my friends have had cancer, are no longer here. I've lost family members with cancer. And I did go down there briefly, thinking, well, they didn't make it. Why should I make it? And then I had to change my attitude and then just talk to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm lucky. I do have good coaches behind me. I've got good support people behind me in my networking to keep me that focused. And I had some really good friends to make sure I was that way. So that's one of the things to do with my business. It's not just the wand, it's making sure you have the right attitude to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So how long have you been in this business? How long have you been in this business?
I've actually had the one myself for over 2 years,
Okay.
but I hadn't done anything with it. And it wasn't until I actually had my own cancer story that I realized, and in fact, my life coach told me you need to, because I had some other businesses that it's the business I had actually crashed. All of us lost our business overnight because the company that we're dealing with, white labor, was pulled out underneath them. So that was my business. So I was sitting in a little bit limbo. I wasn't really into MLM. I'd had enough of that. And this is an MLM to be able to purchase the one. But then when I had my cancer, my brain tumor cancer, I realized I've got to put those other issues behind, because to me, if this can help someone's life, I need to put the other things aside and let people know about it. Because someone's life is more important than worrying about the other things behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Wow.
I'm sure if the brain tumor client if I hadn't met him, he may not be here.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that I really do need to let people know about it.
Totally. Totally. Share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients.
I would say my brain tumor client is the most
Yes.
out of the different ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think particularly because in that 4 hours from someone who couldn't talk, who could talk, that
Yes.
really blew me away. But I did hear another story of a couple and a guy in the States
Mm-hmm.
who was sent home because he had a stroke and was sent home as a vegetable in the feeding tube.
Oh, wow.
Now, their neighbour had one and loaned the wand to them.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he was about in his 40s, this guy. We saw him on a webinar. He was in his bed and now he's talking. You would never know 3 weeks before that he couldn't talk. I believe that now because I've seen it myself happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also in that webinar, he was able to, his wife said he was being fed partly through a feeding tube, but he was able to use his left hand, well, I think it was left hand, one hand to be able to do it. I haven't actually haven't heard what's the follow on from there. But that was only 3 weeks when someone who couldn't talk, couldn't feed themselves,
Mm-hmm.
was able to talk and feed themselves. My
Wow.
friend who lives in Canada, who I got this through when I watched her, she's a seriously palsy. She got it because of for her legs. And it helps her when she's wolfed to be able to walk. She has another issue. She quite often gets sinuses, headaches. And as soon as she gets sinus or headaches, she goes and puts a wand on her face. And that gets rid of it, clears the sinus.
You know,
But her husband just recently had a hip replacement. And she
mhm.
said a day and a half after using the wand, his scar tissue disappeared.
Well, I wish I had met you and known you 5 years ago when my father was diagnosed with bladder cancer, you know, but everything happens for a reason at the right time. And I hope and pray that you can
Yeah.
help the people moving on forward that are going to that now. So you're doing amazing. Keep it up. And yeah, I'm just incredibly hopeful for what's going to come, what you're going to be able to help and impact. Not just help, but literally save lives and save families.
Save families, that's right, because there's nothing worse when you lose a partner's family member is suffering or you lose them.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. How does it make you feel that you're running a business, actually not just selling products, but actually saving families? How does it make you feel in the morning when you wake up or even throughout the day?
I think that's it. I think selling the product's doesn't even come
Yes,
into it. To
absolutely.
me, it's been able to see someone's life being changed, someone's life being improved, or having a life
Yeah.
instead of just living. Because people happen, we get to stage they're living, that's all they're doing.
Yes.
But to be able to change it from living and actually having a life, to be able to know what's going on again, enjoying,
Hmm. Isn't that
and
the
then take
greatest?
the
Go ahead, go ahead.
and I can say and take also some of the stress off the family, because there's nothing worse being a family member watching a member suffering.
Oh, yes.
I know.
Yeah, the greatest gift that business provides us is seeing the transformation and the gratitude in the eyes of the people we help. That's priceless. And when you do that, when you see that, I call that orgasm for the soul because it literally touches your soul. You can't even describe it. You get tears of happy, of joy. You get goosebumps. That's the greatest feeling in the world. So, wow, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, let's start to wrap things up. And to finish, I'd like to ask you another series of rapid fire questions. Ready?
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far in your life?
I didn't hear. I got a plane just
Oh,
starting up
okay.
over
No,
here.
no worries. What's the best piece of advice you've been given so far in your life?
Piece of advice.
The best advice you've received so far?
Um, just do it. Get on and do it.
Simple, eh? Just do it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, just do it. Yeah,
Sometimes we tend to
yeah,
overcomplicate things, overthink, and just talk ourselves out of good things. Yeah. What
Yeah,
is,
just go ahead and do it.
yeah,
Don't think about it. Do it.
exactly. What has been the worst advice you ever heard that you were given?
Um, There's one of the things I regret when Bitcoin was $10 a coin and I wanted to buy it, and everyone told me, "Don't touch it. You're wasting your money."
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. As of right now, is like what? So let me just check quickly. One Bitcoin is probably $80,000. Let me check. Bitcoin. Oh yeah, it's 93,000 Canadian, which is
I'm
67,000
considering.
US. 67,000 US. And in New Zealand, that's over 3 million. No, I'm joking. It's 117,000 New Zealand dollars. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and would go back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Elaine. What's a number one piece of advice would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Listen to your gut feeling. Just go for it. Don't listen to other people trying to stop you.
Yes, I agree. And then when you get the chance to buy Bitcoin, put everything into it.
Yeah.
Even take a mortgage on it, you know?
Yeah.
Wow, awesome, awesome. Um, do you have your own podcast yet?
No, I don't.
I'm curious, what's the main reason that you haven't started yours, given all the incredible story you have been blessed with and what you're doing now?
Some ways probably actually haven't thought about it. Well, up until recently, I hadn't really thought about it.
Okay, okay.
And the other thing is probably back to my mindset was it was backwards I've had to work through was I'm not good enough. That was one of my big issues I've had to fight myself through
Yes, we all go through that.
is
So imagine that a year from now, you have your own podcast is very successful. And today and a year from now, you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and that is yourself. What's the first question you want to ask yourself?
um how's life treating you today?
And what would we answer a year from now?
Fantastic. I'm
Love that.
enjoying my life. I'm having it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the last question I ask, and that's my favorite question that I ask, and that is, what's the smallest thing you've done in your life that has had the biggest, deepest, most positive impact in both your life and business? For example, for me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you, Elaine?
Um I suppose the first networking, actually telling people about my being a cancer survivor and about the wand.
Mm, hey, and you know what's the best way to do so? Simply having conversations like we're doing on a podcast.
Having conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
The best way they can do it is either on my Facebook, which is under Helen Peart, which is spelled HELEN PEART / then bar BARR.
Okay. Listen, Helene, I salute you. You truly do that. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world, your presence, your impact, and your horses. Um, we'll definitely talk soon again. And have a fantabulous, stupendous rest of your day and rest of your week. Take care, my friend. God bless.
Thank you.
You're welcome.